Good afternoon. I'm Jack Berryman, the ACSM historian, and I'm here talking with Margot Putukian today. Thank you, Margot, for coming.
Thank you.
As part of our ACSM's Distinguished Leaders in Sports Medicine and Exercise Science video series. I just wanted to start off, Margot, if you could tell us a little bit about your current position, where you're working now and what that entails, and then from there a little bit about your current projects and so forth with ACSM.
Sure. I'm currently the Director of Athletic Medicine and the head team physician at Princeton University. Been there for about 11 years. Most of my work relates around patient care, so I take care of the athletes at Princeton and work with our athletic training staff as it relates to that. I also have some research in terms of clinical research right now related to concussion that we've been involved in, and pretty active as it relates to a fair amount of health and safety committees for different organizations. So I work with U.S. Soccer and Major League Soccer and USA Football, and have worked with the NCAA, and have worked with the ACSM for a bit too, and the NFL. So I've been kind of active as it relates to a fair number of, in U.S. lacrosse, sports science safety committees, and then with ACSM, I'm currently the chair of the Clinical Sports Medicine Leadership Committee.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a neat committee, and so many good people on that.
Absolutely. And at one point in my career, I was on the board of trustees for ACSM as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Princeton, are you also faculty in one of the departments, or how is that set up? I'm an associate clinical professor at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson. That's right, because Princeton doesn't have a medical school.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. But you're pretty much full-time dealing with Princeton student athletes?
Yes. Yeah.
Do they have a separate student health program there for non-athletes? I mean,
yeah,
we
do.
Most universities do.
Yeah, so I work out of myself and the athletic trainers that I supervise work under are part of the health center. So we're part of the University Health Services. And so we have a sports dietitian, and we have we work with our counseling staff and then other clinicians, and so we have pretty comprehensive care to our students. And then along with that, then I sort of work with the student athlete population in terms of the varsity athletes.
Compared to at Washington, where I'm at, it's part of orthopedics and sports medicine.
I see.
And I wonder how many models are like. Are all the Ivies your model?
No,
because some of them have med schools. So
correct. I mean, I think there's a variety of models across the country as it relates to how, who is a team physician and where that home is, and also where the athletic trainers report to some extent. I think it's a unique model that athletic trainers report to the physicians within the health center and are separate from athletics, right? It's very different. But
yeah, it is.
It's actually, I think, a really healthy model.
I think I like it.
Yeah, and it's independent, so there's no conflict of interest.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no pressure. I mean, the goal is student health, period.
Right.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So we have a real good work. We have a consultant who's an orthopedic surgeon who works with our staff as well, and so it's kind of a comprehensive way to provide medical care.
I'll get to this in a minute when we backtrack, but what was your sort of specialty before, or was it just sports? Not orthopedics, I take it.
No, I think early, I knew I wanted to be a team physician sort of when I applied to medical school, and I think early I thought I would go that route, but I really enjoyed exercise medicine, cardiology, and so I ended up in internal medicine. Going the route of primary care sports medicine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll probably get to that here in a minute, but I just had to ask because you mentioned that still traditionally it's sort of orthopedics that still are doing sports med. Okay, so let's go back then to where you grew up and high school days and
Okay.
and take us forward
Take
from
us
there.
forward. So I grew up actually not very far from where we are at this meeting in Boston, in a suburb called Sudbury. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
grew up there. My parents are still there, and went to high school in Lincoln, Sudbury, and then I went to college at Yale University. I played soccer there, played a year of lacrosse there, and it was that sort of experience, probably getting injured and being in the training room, that made me start thinking
I've
about
heard
what I
this
wanted to
before.
do when I grew up, right? Yeah, it's a pretty common story.
What
So-
years were you at Yale?
1980 to 1984.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So by then, women have pretty good situations for intercollegiate sports.
Better than
That's
in
the
years
way-
past.
Before Title IX, at least,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was a soccer coach for 2 years at UMass.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
When?
In the 72
Okay,
and 73.
okay.
So I was 23 years old and a Division I
Wow,
soccer coach,
Yeah.
and I recruited a lot of my players from here.
from that area, okay.
From
yeah.
here, like
Oh,
you know,
okay.
where you grew up,
Yeah.
actually, Barnstable
Sure,
and
sure.
places like that.
One of my best friends in high school went to UMass.
Yeah, Chicopee.
Yeah.
And Springfield and
Sure.
all that. So mainly soccer was what?
Yeah, when I was in high school, I played tennis, I played basketball, I played soccer, but soccer was really the sport that I loved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And lacrosse is on the West Coast. It's just coming.
correct.
But here, it's. I grew up in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
so I mean that and field hockey. Were
Right. Yeah,
huge.
lacrosse is a fastest growing sport for youngsters, right? At the adolescent and high school and even in college, it's really the fastest growing sport. But I actually didn't play in high school, and it was when I I tore my ACL my freshman year. I just wanted to play, right? So I wanted to know that I could play competitively, and so I tried out. I was actually trying out for the hockey team when I tore my ACL, and then I ended up deciding to play lacrosse for my freshman year, and then realized that I was really, I had a ways to go as it relates to skill set.
Some skills
So
there.
I was like, I think I'm going to just stick with soccer. So I played soccer for all 4 years.
So you had good outcome in your surgery, evidently.
Long story short, but I actually didn't, it was not, I did not have surgery until 12 years later? No,
Oh my.
14 years later.
So you played.
So I played
the whole
ACL
time.
deficient, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So you knew as an undergrad you wanted to go to med school.
Late in my undergraduates.
Okay. What
I
was your
really didn't know,
major?
honestly. I was a biology major. I like science, but I didn't have a good sense as to what I wanted to do. So it really was late I was probably a junior in college, and I thought, what am I going to do, And so I really thought about exercise science. I thought about athletic training or physical therapy. And then I thought, you know what, I might as well try to go the doctor route, just
Yeah.
because it seemed like it would be something more fitting with what my aspirations would be.
So where did you go?
So I applied to medical school and did not get in. Came home. I coached soccer at BU at Boston University
They
for
were
a
one
year.
of our big
Did
rivals.
did some research at Harvard's medical school in neonatology. Took a couple classes to sort of show that I could get A's, and so that's actually, I took a class from Skip Putukian,
I'll be
who
darned.
was a past president of ACSM.
Yeah, sure.
And he was the one who suggested that I consider joining ACSM.
And okay, so this is before med school.
This is
I mean,
before
this
med
is-
school.
Well, they call it a gap year now. So.
They call exactly. I took a gap year. That's exactly right. But it was great because I actually loved coaching, and I think if I had gone straight, I probably would have questioned whether that would have been a better.
That's why gap years
profession.
are important.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I took a gap year.
Did you go to any regional meetings or anything with ACSM, the New England chapter?
Yeah, not then. Not back then.
Yeah.
Not back then.
Okay.
Honestly, I was just trying to, kind of get into medical school, right? So I was,
Right.
was working pretty hard in terms of doing the research, doing the coaching, and taking classes and getting A's, right?
Making your admission packet look a little better.
Exactly.
So you reapply.
So I reapply, and I get accepted into Boston University Medical School.
Oh, good.
And had a great experience there. And then it was then that I, sort of tried to figure out what field. And again, I think I initially thought orthopedics, and then I started thinking that I really enjoyed cardiology and exercise science, and so I thought primary care sports medicine would be a better fit. And then when I ended up deciding on internal medicine as a route, it actually narrowed things because there weren't that many fellowship opportunities in internal, in primary care sports medicine that were the route of internal medicine.
Right, yeah,
Right?
where were they? What were your options?
There weren't many. So most of them, were run by family physicians, and the predominance of primary care sports medicine is still in family medicine, with about 7% are internists and 7% are pediatricians, 7% are ER trained, and 3 or 4 are physiatrists, physical medicine and rehab, but the rest are all family medicine. So the fellowship programs similarly were predominantly family medicine, but there were some that wouldn't accept, wouldn't take an internist in their fellowship program. So
did you have to do a residency
Yes.
in just internal medicine first, right?
Correct.
So what is that, 3?
3 years. Yep.
Okay. Then you apply.
Then you do the fellowship.
Thought.
Correct.
Okay.
So I did my fellowship at Michigan State University with Dave Howe and Doug McKeag. They were my fellowship directors.
I know Doug.
Yeah.
That worked out good, I'm sure.
Yeah, that worked out extremely well. They were fantastic.
So where are we now
So
chronologically?
Chronologically now, that's 92, 93 was my fellowship year in sports medicine.
That's a 1 year?
That's a 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's your next stop?
Well, so what happened was when I was an intern doing my residency in internal medicine, right? I get a call from Skip.
Oh.
And Skip tells me that he's now at Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a job there as a team physician. So I said, well, Skip, I'm honored, but I'm only an intern, and I got a couple more years, and then I want to do a sports medicine fellowship. And but long story short, when I finished my sports medicine fellowship, there was a couple of opportunities, and one of them was this position at Penn State.
Oh, it was still open.
Still open.
Wow.
So I went to Penn State, and that was my first job, and I was there for about 10 years. And it was there that I really was, Skip was there. There were a lot of other, Bill Kramer was there.
Yeah.
Bill Evans was there. And then all the exercise physiologists were there, the folks
was Buskirk still there?
Buskirk, so Larry Kenny, Nancy
I know all
Williams,
those
and
guys,
then Chris Clark, and a dietitian.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
That's a pretty
So
powerful
I had
group.
And
most of them ACSM people.
Kowalczyk, yep, all those guys,
Yeah.
ACSM.
Peter Kavanaugh was there too,
Right.
I think.
Right, yep,
Peter is now at Washington
okay,
in orthopedics of all places.
Right.
And
right,
I grew up in Lewistown,
Okay.
Pennsylvania, which is
Okay.
just over the hill.
right.
So I still fly into State College.
Oh, is that right?
To see my mother.
There you go.
So
Yeah,
that
so
was a
Penn
neat
State
place.
was,
It's a good place.
I was there as a team physician and the director of primary care sports medicine there. And that was sort of a big steep learning curve for me.
You had your own fellowship there then?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay. Did you do anything with Hershey, with the medical
Yes.
school? Is it just too
Yes.
far? Or?
No, I was hired through Hershey. And
Okay.
so initially my first few years, we would drive, the orthopedic surgeon and I would drive down once a week, and we'd go to ground rounds down there,
Oh.
and then I would do a primary care sports medicine clinic, and he would operate and do orthopedics down there. We'd do that once a week. And then that slowly transitioned out, and I spent most of my time at in-state college. Yeah.
Were you responsible for any one team?
When I was at Penn State, I worked with initially men's and women's basketball, but eventually just men's basketball. Help with football. I worked with both men's and women's soccer. I worked with gymnastics. So there were 14 teams: baseball, softball.
Was Bruce Parkhill there then?
Bruce Parkhill was the coach I first worked with. Yeah.
Bruce Parkhill was the goalie
Right.
for my soccer team.
Is that right?
I went to Lock Haven.
I was going to say, I remember that.
He was an All-American.
Yeah, goalkeeper.
At Little Lock Haven.
Lock Haven.
And he and I played soccer together 4 years.
Yeah.
Great
I worked
guy.
with Bruce. I loved it.
Fantastic human being.
Yeah, he was the one that initially I said, you okay if I'm on your bench? And he said, yeah, because the doctors used to sort of sit behind the team up in the stands. And so I said, Bruce, you know, if you're okay with it, I'm going to be at all your home games. And he said, sure, I'd love to have you on the bench. And he goes, if you ever want to travel with us, you just let me know.
Yeah.
So I ended up eventually traveling with him as well.
Oh, that's super. Yeah, that's small world.
Small world.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So Princeton was your next stop?
Yeah, so in 2004, I came to Princeton. Yeah, so the opportunity to be in charge of a program, and in some ways, I didn't think of it at the time, but in some ways, kind of give back to what started my career as an Ivy League athlete.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
In some ways, it was coming full circle.
Do they, I don't even know, do the Ivies just compete with each other? Or what are the
depends.
schedules? I guess,
Yeah,
in the
it depends on the
sport
sport,
and all?
right? So certainly there's
True.
an Ivy League for most of the sports, but
Yeah,
our hockey teams, ice hockey teams, for example, there's no Ivy League for ice hockey, right?
Yeah.
So they have a different conference, but for
Yeah.
most of the sports, they compete within the Ivy League, as well as, you know, they compete nationally with other programs too. Patriot League, we have a lot of Patriot League games.
I see.
You know, and then when we do well enough, we can play in postseason. We
Right.
compete with the big dogs, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, are you still playing anything yourself, or trying to stay active?
I stay active. I'm still extremely, that's
Yeah.
something
You
that's part of
look
my
like
day.
You're still pretty active.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
that's a compliment, by the way.
You asked me when I went to school. That was a sort of a little hesitant to give you the age, right? So,
Oh well, that's what history is. We need chronology.
exactly.
Well, let's come back to the present again,
Okay.
and talk a little bit more about the clinicians in ACSM. And are you involved or have been involved with the team physician courses
Yes.
or anything
Yep.
like that?
Yeah, so I have worked with the team physician courses pretty much throughout my career, and you know, and it was really the avenue that allowed me to meet so many other clinicians from
Yeah.
different disciplines, which is
Yeah.
what ACSM is, you know, really strong as it relates to, you know, you come to the annual meeting and you meet cardiologists and the neurosurgeons and the orthopedic surgeons, and you know, it's sort of it's a great discipline. There's a lot of us in primary care sports medicine that are also members of the American Medical Society of Sports Medicine. But we, you know, comment on the fact that this is, you know, ACSM provides a different experience, because you're interacting with other disciplines, and at the same time you're also, you know, the basic scientists, and you're working with the nutritionists and the athletic trainers and physical therapists that come here, and so it's just a different kind of an organization.
And ACSM plays well with others too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've looked at a lot of the position stands and position statements, and it's usually a large group of other organizations that
Correct.
come
Yeah, I mean, you have
together to.
the team physician courses and the team physician programs, and then the advanced team physician course. So I've been involved with those for a bit, and then the international team physician courses. I've been really fortunate to be able to travel on those.
How new is that? I don't remember.
I don't think they're that new. I mean, I remember going. I've gone to Mexico. I went to Chile in 2008. Went to Chile, so it's been around for some time. And then you know, I've had the opportunity to travel otherwise internationally in conjunction with some of the TPC courses, where they invite you and fund you, and ACSM sends its contingency. So. And then the team physician consensus statements are actually another, like an interdisciplinary, you know, that's 6 different organizations.
Yeah, those are the
that come
ones
together.
that I was referring to. I forgot exactly what they were called. But
yeah, those started actually through Stan Herring, you know, in 1999.
Stan is a great friend of mine from Seattle. And, what was I going to say? Oh, have you done anything with any of the pro teams?
I work currently as a consultant to Major League Soccer.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah,
That's
and then
right.
I'm right now I'm starting from 2010 until currently I'm on the NFL's head, neck, spine committee.
So you've gotten involved with some of the concussion studies and.
Yeah, right now we're involved. Princeton is one of 12 schools that were involved in the NCAA Department of Defense study, which is fantastic. So we're involved. We're really excited to be involved.
So
with
that's a big grant.
that's a
isn't
huge
it?
grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were several universities, including ours,
Right.
that were
Right.
trying to get in
Well,
on
yeah,
that.
I mean, it was.
They did get something. Stan
Yeah, they've
and the
expanded.
guy in Noro, I forget his name,
Okay.
is head of the NFL committee or something.
Oh, Ellen Bogan, Rich.
Yeah.
Ellen Bogan. Yeah.
But that's something different.
I believe that might be different.
I think it is.
Yeah, the NCAA, I think the University of Washington is in the study though, so.
Are they?
And there were 12 initial schools and, basically coming out of University of Michigan and Medical College of Wisconsin, and the third site's escaping me right now, but yeah, those, so it's been exciting to be part of a big study.
Yeah. So are you getting data just from your own athletes, or
That's
or
what
do you
we're- yeah.
reach out to the geographic area?
No,
The
it's
whole
yeah.
idea is just stick with.
Yeah, it's a
Princeton.
prospective evaluation of college age athletes and then the cadets, right, the armed services. So
Okay.
we've got one other study going on related that's completely funded separately, but it's again still looking at our own athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there any other committees? Now I want to go back to what you said when we first sat down, and I'm trying
Yeah.
to remember what it was.
Well, I
There was
worked,
another.
when I initially came to, I started, I think I joined ACSM in '89. I think I started coming to the meetings in '92 when I finished my fellowship year. I think I've been to every meeting since 1992.
Wow.
I had to leave early once. So when I first began working with ACSM, I was on the Strategic Health Initiative for Active Girls and Women. And then eventually, so I did my stint on that committee, and then I ended up joining it was initially a task force, a clinical sports medicine leadership task force, and then it became a full committee. And then just last year, Stan Herring was the committee chair, and just last year I became the committee chair.
Yeah.
So, and that's exciting because it's a way to try to, keep the clinical voice active within the college.
Absolutely. So I think finally we're just about out of time already. Where do you? I guess the question would be. I remember vividly when the clinicians didn't have a very big role in this college, and it just seems to me that has changed drastically. And I don't know if you feel that way or if there's room for improvement.
I think there's room for improvement, to be very honest, because
Yeah,
and
well,
I think it's a challenge, right? Because it's such a big organization that sometimes it's hard to kind of rein in all the different areas, and everyone has their different areas what they're really passionate about. But and I think for it is a challenge for me when I first I kind of finished my training at the cusp at the beginning of the AMSSM, right, the American Medical Society for Sports Medicine. And so for me, the ACSM was always a part of my early years as AMSSM was getting bigger and getting stronger. It's now, I think, a challenge for the younger members that are going through their training, where they have the opportunity to kind of do I stick with just primary care sports medicine, and or do I think about joining ACSM as well? And my argument has always been that they serve different purposes.
Yes.
Like if you go to with the AMSSM, it's all the same folks. And with ACSM, one of the benefits is that it provides you, kind of a window to so many other worlds within exercise medicine and sports medicine.
Especially if you come from a varied interest background.
Right.
When you think of yourself,
Exactly.
that I can see where you would benefit greatly from that, whereas maybe someone else wouldn't.
Well, and I think that there's
so
certainly a
specialized.
challenge. Like for me, I end up, my time is here, and like I said, I've been at every meeting for both organizations.
Oh, okay.
But other people are, they may not have the same amount of time, and at the same time, I don't, I've not been to an ACP meeting, which is the internal medicine specialties annual meeting. I've not attended that.
I see.
Because this really what I've always I've always been a team physician.
Is there a sub-part of that group dealing with sports or exercise at all?
Yeah, this is there are the folks that are internal medicine that then went on to subspecialize in sports medicine.
But do they go
Yeah.
to the meetings, though?
Do they go to
For the,
for the internist?
yes.
Some do. So some might choose to do, ACSM and ACP, and some may choose to do
I see.
AMSSM
Yeah,
and
okay.
ACP,
Yeah, I see.
right? Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
there's
sure.
kind of a trade-off at some
Yeah,
point.
and you can't do it all.
Can't
so,
do it all.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, I think sort of for me, there's always been the value added of different disciplines, and this is where I've met, my colleagues in orthopedics. This is where I've met the cardiologists and the neurosurgeons and the like. So
And thank goodness for Skip Canuck. And
thank goodness for Skip. Exactly.
That's great. And before we close, Margot, there was one other thing that I wanted to remember, and that's to congratulate you on your citation award, which you're going to receive tonight.
Thank you.
I think it must be such a great honor to have your colleagues choose you for such a high honor. When you look at the past citation award winners, that's quite an impressive list.
Thanks. Well, actually, that's exactly what I did. Was I looked through and I saw the prior citation award winners, and it's just amazing. So it's
Yeah.
very humbling.
Yeah,
Very.
it's a great group of people, and,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people are anxious to go to see that tonight and
Thanks.
and show their appreciation for everything you've done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's really an honor.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.